today I will be talking about freedoms provided by the Constitution and looking a little bit closer into the Bill of Rights, specifically the First Amendment. So you may be asking, what exactly is the Constitution? Well, the Constitution, by definition, is the supreme law of the United States of America. I know that sounds pretty fancy, but it's actually really simple. All that means is that no one is above the Constitution, which is also stated by the rule of law. The Constitution provides us with many freedoms and rights, although they can sometimes be violated. Within the Constitution, there is a Bill of Rights, which consists of the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. It guarantees essential rights, and in case you didn't know, it was ratified on December 15th, 1791, over 200 years ago. So let's look at the Bill of Rights a little more closely. As I said, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution make up the Bill of Rights. Let's take a closer look. Amendment 1 is RAPPS, or RAPS, or the freedom of religion, assembly, press, petition, and speech. Amendment 2 is the right to bear arms. There are some limits, though. You must be at least 18 years old, a citizen, and you must have a license. But even with all these regulations, many people still bear arms illegally. Amendment 3 states that there is no quartering of soldiers in one's home during peace. In other words, this means that you are not required to allow a soldier to stay at your home, as long as there is no war happening, in which case this amendment may be subject to change. This may not seem that important in modern day, but back when the Constitution was ratified, there were soldiers staying at people's houses all the time. Amendment 4 protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. Basically, police aren't allowed to search your home unless they possess a probable cause and a search warrant. Amendment 5 gives you the right to due process, right to remain silent, no double jeopardy, no self-incrimination, and eminent domain. Whoa, that's a mouthful. Though these rights were not always respected. The Miranda v. Arizona case of 1966 ensured that when put to questioning, you have the right to remain silent, and that if you cannot afford a lawyer or an attorney, one will be provided to you. It also alerted the person put to questioning that anything you say can and will be held against you. These are called the Miranda rights. So, if you ever hear someone say, "I plead the Fifth" in a crime or mystery show, you'll know that they're referring to their Fifth Amendment rights. Amendment 6 gives you a right to a fair and speedy trial, impartial jury, and right to an attorney. The Fifth and Sixth Amendment go hand in hand. Amendment number 7 states that people can file civil suits for $20 or more, but no less than that. Amendment 8 protects us from cruel and unusual punishment, and excessive bails and fines. Essentially, this amendment protects us from torture, whether it be actual physical torture or torture to our wallets. Finally, Amendment 9 and 10, which go hand in hand. Amendment 9 are rights reserved to the people, and Amendment 10 are rights reserved to the states. This ensures that the government does not have too much power over the people and the states. Now, I would like to go back and examine the First Amendment a little more closely. As I said before, the First Amendment is RAPPS, which stands for the freedom of religion, assembly, press, petition, and speech. It can also be called the freedom of expression. A good way to understand this amendment is by looking at a court case or two in relation to it. One great example is Tinker versus Des Moines. In this case, students decided to wear black armbands to symbolize their disagreement with the Vietnam War and wish for peace. Although the school said that they were promoting violence and suspended them until they chose to come back without the armbands, which did not happen. The students took this case to the Supreme Court, stating that it violated their First Amendment rights, and ultimately won the case. Another good case to look at is Hazelwood versus Kallmeyer. In this case, students wrote about teen pregnancy and abortion in their school paper, but this was deemed inappropriate by their principal and censored. The students also took this case to the Supreme Court, but unlike in Tinker versus Des Moines, they lost. This is a good example of how students can't be as vocal in school as they can in other places, and how they lose some rights when they go to school. But the amendments in the Bill of Rights aren't the only notable amendments. Let's take a look at some other very important amendments that were added on afterwards. The first one is Amendment 13. This amendment made slavery and involuntary servitude illegal, unless it was a punishment for a crime. Next up on the list is the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment established due process, naturalization, and equal rights. Afterwards, there was Amendment 15. The 15th Amendment gave men of color the right to vote. The decision of who runs the country was no longer limited to just white men who owned property. Then the 19th Amendment. This amendment finally gave women the right to vote, or women's suffrage. Then the 24th Amendment. The 24th Amendment got rid of poll taxes. In case you didn't know, poll taxes were very hard tests or high prices put in place to unfairly keep African Americans from voting. And finally, the 26th Amendment. This amendment established that 18-year-olds could vote. It brought the voting age down from 21 to 18. Since 18-year-olds were being sent off to war, they argued that if they were old enough to get sent off to war, they should also be old enough to have a say in who is sending them off. That's it. Thank you for listening. I hope that you now understand this topic better. Bye!